You have advised CEOs, you have advised different leaders on the strategy either in marketing or innovation.
Your pedigree and your past skill set doesn't matter as much as it used to, like
Sure,
10 years.
here on the podcast, and he mentioned the exact same. IQ is equally important as EQ.
And then ask honestly yourself, are you there or not?
Sure.
You're going to send an email to an executive, run it by AI, basically, right? And see, and maybe AI can write the email for you. Always be yourself, have a human in the loop, which is you, to read it, to proofread it, so that you can't blame AI afterwards.
Sure.
And you have some sense of control, but improve your productivity. Like whenever somebody comes to me and say, I have so many tasks, I'm like, which ones are you using AI for? Which ones are you not using AI?
Welcome to Keynote Initiative. This is where we actually go beyond the titles and meet the real person behind the titles. Today, with me in the studio, I have Shailesh Jindal, VP of AI and Excellence at Palo Alto Networks. We're going to talk a lot about the leadership, the human elements, and obviously AI. And Shailesh and I, we were talking about this over a conversation where when you have leaders like Shailesh who have prepared for this position, what does it take? So with that, Shailesh, welcome to the show.
Hey, Victor, pleasure to be here.
Shailesh, I want to talk about this one question I get a lot from a lot of people who are trying to be where you are. How do you prepare for that?
No, I think everybody can actually not just aspire to be where I am. In fact, like we all should aspire to go a lot bigger and better. I think there are 2-3 traits I think that matter a lot. One is the fire in the belly, like the
Sure.
ambition, like that hunger is really, really important. Having a sense of what drives the most impact. I think you have to be clear, like once you have a clear idea what I'm trying to get to, what is going to take me there? And sometimes you don't have all the answers, but you're going
Sure.
to try. You have to start. You have to have the curiosity. You have to have the hustling nature to try to get to that. And then all of us are kind of learning along the way. So having like a deep sense of humility and learning and like having the persistence after that. Yeah.
You have advised CEOs, you have advised different leaders on the strategy either in marketing or innovation. When it comes to actually informing senior leaders like CEOs, CTOs, CIOs, what's the one thing that comes to your mind that I need to inform them? And what preparation do you have to do to come up with that checklist where they might ask you something that you're not ready for?
See, part of the job is being really putting yourself in their shoes and really understanding what matters to them.
Sure.
Right? Because information for the sake of information doesn't mean much, right? So once you kind of start doing that, then you obviously everybody at the end of the day is a human being, right? And so they always want to make data-driven decisions, sometimes
Sure.
gut feelings as well. But then you want to do enough research around it, basically have a very good sense of perspective
Okay.
based on the data insights, basically, and having a perspective of where this thing is going, where the puck is moving, and how should we do that, right? And having a bit of a discussion with them, right, as well. And so I think those are the things that kind of really resonate with the leaders. And also, like, there's always a human aspect. It depends on what are you talking about, right? You have to know that area. Like in certain areas, like just take AI as an example, right?
Yeah.
In AI, there is a technology angle of it, where the technology is moving, where the puck is moving. You have to have that perspective on how things are.
Sure.
But then there is a big angle of change management, which is a very soft area, right? A lot of people are interested in that and how does that happen, right? And there is no silver bullet to it. There are certain best practices and guides, basically, right? But that change management and operating model transformation is, I would say, the key to have that AI impact being there. And that's what you're really interested in.
Shailesh, I hear this a lot where in order to work for technology companies, you need to have technical background. In order to be in leadership, you need to have an MBA. What is your perspective on that?
To be honest, I think these days, your pedigree and your past skill set doesn't matter as much as it used to, like
Sure.
say 10 years ago. I think what matters is how adaptable are you? How much are you willing to learn more, right? AI has democratized intelligence, as Nikesh mentioned in All Hands as well, and it will continue to do that. So I think what is going to differentiate the people who are going to achieve something versus not is the execution, basically, right? And it is not about, hey, I know or I have this MBA or I have this pedigree, right? All of us have a similar knowledge sooner or later. All of us have it today, basically, more or less, right? But then having a sense of purpose, what am I going after, would be different than others, basically, right? And then being persistent about it, basically, is going to differentiate. Yeah.
Part of this podcast is also knowing the human behind the title. That's what really got me started, Keystone Initiative. 2 decades ago, when you broke into industry, when you got your first job, and when you look back now, what were the things that prepared you to be here today? What were the things that made you humble?
I think when I was in my younger days, basically.
You're
fresh
still
out of-
young, Shailesh. Don't say younger days. You're still
Yeah,
young.
you just mentioned 2 days ago, but yeah, I think 2 decades ago. So back in the day, I was thinking it is the IQ, basically, right? Which is like not just having information, but like what are the insights from it and doing things, basically, right? Is gonna make me successful, right? And it does that basically in the early stages. But
Sure.
as I grew up in my career, from an individual contributor to a manager to a leader now, I think what I realize is like that's a lesser portion of it what makes you successful. And then having the realization early on is important, right? And that made me humble. And I'm like, okay, what matters is actually how do I put up a relevant vision out there? How do I energize my team? How do I have the right team, basically, with the right skills and
Sure.
capabilities? How do I make sure that they're successful in their careers? And we all are kind of marching towards the overall North Star that we have set ourselves for is the bigger piece, right? So I think the skill set changes a bit as you go along the way. That doesn't mean that IQ completely becomes irrelevant. Like I read a lot, basically, still. Like especially, I think we're living in a age where things are changing a lot. The
Yeah.
volatility in the world has increased, and you always have to be adaptable, all right? So I'm still a voracious reader on what is happening with Anthropic. How do they go to market, basically, right? What can we learn from it? How do we do that? Like companies which do not have the baggage of being a legacy company,
Sure.
but are really out there. What can I learn from that? So I think just by looking at all of that keeps me really humble.
It's funny you mentioned that. I had Uni Krishnan as well here on the podcast, and he mentioned the exact same. IQ is equally important as EQ. And realizing that it really makes you a humble leader, people will follow you. And more importantly, it'll help you continue to grow as a leader, because once you are at a leadership role, at that point, what do you look forward to? What's the next North Star for you, for yourself? And I think having that IQ and EQ combination in your leadership style really keeps you on your toes, in my opinion.
Completely. I think having that, like we all are trying to grow ourselves to learn more, having a growth mindset is really important.
Yeah.
Never kind of have that assumption that I know it all, basically, right? Because we don't. None of us knows that, right? And so having that growth mindset, keeping on learning, basically, and having like some sense of impact, like personal impact that you're having on the society or the company at large, basically,
Sure.
right? Always thinking, how can I make it better than what it was when I kind of came here?
So I do talk to a lot of individual contributors, and usually there's a common phrase there: I don't have enough time. I have a lot of tasks. I always wonder, vice presidents like yourself, I'm sure you have amplified those task lists and you have a lot to do as well. How do you manage the time prioritization? What's the magic here?
Yeah, no, completely. I'm still learning on that as well.
You've gotten it right, I'm sure. You're here. So what are the things that you have disciplined yourself to
Yeah.
do that better?
What works for me is having a really good sense of eyes on the prize, basically.
Okay.
Because there are certain things that move the needle a lot more versus less. Like they say that 20% of the things that you do
80%.
will drive 80% of the
Oh,
impact,
yes.
right? So it's not just a saying, actually, like having that sense of in your life, in your professional lives, basically, what are those things? And then obviously like use that to prioritize. People often just also confuse activity to an outcome, right?
Sure.
So just because you're busy doesn't mean that you're going to get there, right? What outcomes are, I think that's why I'm saying like having the eyes on the prize is really important, basically, right? That helps me prioritize. Having said that, also the other thing is I think I'm also achieving significant productivity gain with AI in
Okay.
my day-to-day job. So I'm using it in many, many dimensions, basically, right?
As an example, that's something that was not there 5 years ago and now you're using it.
Yeah. For example, if I'm going to go talk to a customer, or any executive per se, basically, right? I have my story basically based on like I always put myself in their shoes and really understand what's going to resonate with them.
Okay.
And then I still have, let's say, deck prepared, right? Then I use Gemini to take this deck and say, this is my objective. How can I do it better, basically? What are the objections that the leader could have against this, basically, right? and then obviously based on that tweak and sometimes AI makes the tweaks itself with you, right? So that is one very basic.
Sure,
use case
like
that I do.
having a couple of workers for you to have back and forth and different opinions,
Completely.
different mindsets. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think sometimes like if you have multiple executives in that room, each one has their own ways of thinking.
Sure.
And, different set of agendas sometimes, right? So you can actually use AI to really understand how do I kind of make sure that it kind of resonates with all of them, not just with one of them. The other thing I think which all of us use is basically, I think, research and synthesize. That said, I always am looking out what's happening outside.
Yeah.
So I use AI significantly to cut down the time that I need. I know some of my great sources, for example, the information. It's a news source. It's really good for the high-tech industry.
Okay.
I leverage that a lot. But sometimes like there's almost so much to learn and so much to read. I have an AI agent basically that summarizes and puts things that based on my interest basically just surfaces it to me. I don't have to go anywhere.
How does that relate and relay back to your team, the team you're managing? So you have these AI tools which are helping you to be effective. And having that back and forth and almost like an argumentative way of like, what if this way? Give me a negative approach of this, that, and the other. How does that relay back to your team? Are they using the same ways? Are they using it for you as well when the information is coming to you? Is it tailored for you already?
Actually, let me take a step back since you mentioned on the team. We are completely transforming the way we work. At least in my org, I think we have changed it dramatically, and there's obviously more room to change. Like, for example, one of the things that we do in go-to-market excellence and AI is basically, right, is how do we make sure that our sellers are successful in what they're doing, right? And previously it used to be, hey, we have this new tool, learn about it, basically, right? And then there's no connection from there to what happens in the real field.
Sure.
Now we are coming up with different ways with AI. For example, we have this AI role play where you can simulate a customer conversation with AI. The AI is going to be dynamic conversation. It is not scripted. You can't prepare for it enough. But it's going to throw objections at you, basically. It's going to share knowledge with you. In a way, it's going to
Prepare you.
It's going to simulate the whole conversation and prepare you much
Right.
better before you go into the conversation, right? So it's
Okay.
a completely different way of thinking than what was possible before without AI, right? Another example is you have meetings that are coming up. How do I prepare for those meetings? Like, what do I ask in those meetings, basically, right? For example, if I'm talking to a new customer completely who has not used Palo before,
Yeah.
how do I ensure, like, first of all, I need to do research. And after that, how do I do the right discoveries to really understand what are their pain points? How do I set traps for competition, right? There was nothing there before. Now with AI, we are making that happen, right? And in the day-to-day also, I tell my team every day, basically, right? Like, how do we improve productivity in our day-to-day lives, basically? One is we need to change the productivity of sellers. At the same time, in our own day-to-day, what can we do to change, basically? Right? For example, I ask my team, before you do a certain thing for me or draft an email, like a simple example is,
Sure.
you're going to send an email to an executive, run it by AI, basically, right? And see, and maybe AI can write the email for you. Always be yourself, have a human in the loop, which is you, to read it, to proofread it, so that you can't blame AI afterwards.
Sure.
And you have some sense of control, but improve your productivity. Like, whenever somebody comes to me and say, I have so many tasks, I'm like, which ones are you using AI for? Which ones are you not using AI?
You mentioned productivity a couple of times in there. How do you measure that as an executive? I know I hear that a lot. There is in tech world, there is how many tokens that you're using, and that's
Yeah.
my way of measuring how much AI you're using. But how does that relate back to actual effective, to your point, outcome?
Yeah.
Is it positive? Is it helping my business? Is it helping my team? How do you know from yesterday to today, how did AI help you, the business?
No, that's a great question, I think. And a lot of companies are getting it wrong because they're measuring it and they in terms of tokens used. There are leaderboards in terms of tokens
Sure.
used, and people are using it for various purposes that don't matter. I think we always keep our eyes on the price, basically, right? For example, this is what we are aspiring to. For example, like we have a pipeline generation goal. If our pipeline, if we have a $100 million goal to generate pipeline in this patch in North America, for example, right? The main way to see that is basically, are we getting closer to that goal or not based on where we are today, right? And if we have a certain things, for example, the other way to measure productivity is, I had a list of actions to do basically in the day, right? I can use certain things for AI. Am I really freeing up time? Like, that's a personal measure basically. Nobody else can tell that for you. You have
Right.
to be honest with yourself. So I always look into the day, hey, I had a certain set of actions basically. Was I really able to complete all of them using AI or not using AI? Certain cases are not AI friendly as well, right? So how do you, like, so at the end of the day, have a high goal for yourself basically each day. Always stretch yourself And then ask honestly yourself, are you there or not? And then for the overall corporate goals and aggregate goals, you want to see, am I hitting that milestone or not?
Shailesh, usually during these podcasts, I always bring it back to the human. Again, back to you beyond the title. Share us one story, something that happened in the past, but really helped you to actually outgrow the comfort, or something that was a failure, but it was more importantly helped you actually gain next win.
Yeah, no, I think good question. I think we're all learning from our fearless leader, Nikesh.
Yeah.
So I have multiple examples basically where his way of thinking is so provocative and really out there. They really pushed me out of my kind of linear way of thinking. Right?
Okay.
I think, for example, I was part of the think tank when we did the platformization. That was the Nikesh idea, obviously. And as part of that thing, basically, right, we were coming up with some other ways, basically, to get there, right? But when Nikesh mentioned the word platformization, it really resonated with me. And I was like, I could not have come up with that myself, basically. But when he talked about it, I would say a sense of myself grew into that, basically, right? Where I felt like, wow, like thing is, I can completely relate to it myself, and this is amazing, and this is how we should think. And I think that was like there is never moments, basically, I don't believe in moments that change you, but that was the moment, basically, where I felt like it really helped me think a bit nonlinear in my own lives versus always thinking linear changes.
Fair. Let's start with this one, Shailesh. If you were to go back today, 10 years, 15 years, and give one piece of advice to yourself that will make you a better leader that you are today already, what would that be?
No, I think, great question. Big advice I'll give you is think big. Do not put constraint on your thinking. Oftentimes we see what is possible.
Sure.
And I did that in my early days as well, where I kind of looked around and said, this is what I bring to the table, and had some sense of growth mindset, but I still said linear. I think, so one piece of advice I would give myself is like, do not constrain yourself. Sky's the limit, think big. And once you have, like if you can think through, you will be able to achieve it. What you achieve in your life is largely a kind of lack of imagination of the possibilities or art of the possible.
Got it. Well, thanks so much for all of our listeners, and thank you, Shailesh, for coming in on the Keynote Initiative and sharing so much intelligence with us.
Thanks a lot, Victor. My pleasure.